Welcome to Horror Melee,
a podcast born of a group of people who love to talk and debate horror.
Every episode, one of us picks a movie to review, and the rest of us must either suffer or enjoy that pick.
Turn your brain off and enjoy. Oh, did anyone, before we start this, did anyone follow the loophole of Post Malone and the dybbuk box? What this movie's based off of, this dybbuk box, was bought by the guy who was the host of Ghost Adventures, and he owns a museum in Las Vegas. And apparently...
Oh, yeah, Zach Baggins.
Yeah, Zach Baggins. And him and Post Malone are good friends. Apparently, him and Post Malone were, like, looking at the box, and there's a few videos of it. But after that happened... Post Malone went into this weird downward spiral of like almost a plane crash, a car accident, and yeah.
Wait, whoa. I thought
the rabbit
that
hole's deep, Stephanie.
Wait, but I thought that the dybbuk box that this is based off of was by some professor in like.
No, it's changed hands many times, and it eventually ended up in Zach Baggins' hands in his museum in Las Vegas.
I thought you were going to say Zach Baggins' pants.
I wouldn't be surprised. Just throwing it out there. He's a weird dude.
Welcome to Horror Melee! On this episode, we have Holly.
Hello.
And Patrick.
Shalom.
And myself, Steph, and we are going to discuss the 2012 possession movie called The Possession. In the midst of her parents' divorce, Emily finds an old box at an estate sale. Quickly becoming attached, Emily's behavior begins to drastically change while a string of horrific events unfolds around them. The Possession was directed by Ole Borndahl, written by Juliet Snowden and Styles White. It stars my man, JDM, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Kira Sedgwick, Natasha Callis, and Madison Davenport. The budget for this movie was $14 million, and it brought in around $82.9 million. This film was ranked number 1 in its opening weekend, taking an estimated $17.7 million. So it was definitely a success for Sam Raimi.
Yeah. Good job.
Oh, yeah. By the way, it was produced by Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
No, it was presented by Sam Raimi.
Oh, right. Sam Raimi presents The Possession. So Holly picked this movie. Holly, tell us why.
Yes, I was tasked to pick a possession movie. And some time ago, I really wanted to watch some kind of possession genre movie. And I was like, I've seen so many exorcism movies, possession movies, where it's about Catholicism. I don't think I've heard of any, or if I have, they weren't popular enough for me to remember anything in a different culture. So I just looked up a list of movies, and this was one of the first ones that popped up. And when I first, when did I see this? Maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So when I first saw it, I enjoyed seeing it. I liked seeing a different culture. I only saw it the one time, and seeing it a couple more times for this podcast, I was like, oh, okay, it wasn't as great as I remember, but we shall get into that.
It's funny, I watched a video with a rabbi, and he states, he goes, movies portray Catholicism as, the true defenders against evil and exorcisms. And then he said, no, rabbis wear the capes. They're the ones who are the true defenders. And I laughed very hard.
Well, that's so interesting because, yeah, I can't think of any other non-Catholic possession movie. Catholicism loved to scare the pants out of their followers, lead with fear.
Mm-hmm.
like when I saw this movie in the theater, and I remember being really intrigued to see a Jewish take on possession, because I didn't know. I mean, I don't know, if Jews believe in heaven and hell and all that stuff. It was really cool to see a different culture's take on it.
Yeah, and I also went down a bit of a rabbit hole with kind of looking at other cultures, and I didn't realize Islam had such a big inspiration of like jinns, which are like genies, I guess. Jinns,
Yeah.
which are very similar to like this whole Jewish exorcism kind of thing. It was really interesting. It was a wild ride. Wild ride.
In this movie stars a dybbuk box, and in an interview, the director describes a dybbuk box as a box in which you contain an evil spirit. So when the spirit leaves the body, like, where does it go? In the Catholic religion, you actually relieve the person from the demon, so you just cast the demon out of the person. But in Jewish tradition, you had to take it somewhere. So they made a box and put it in there and made sure it couldn't get out again. This movie is based on an actual factual dybbuk box. Also in this movie, it claims that it's based on a true story that, quote unquote, happened to one family over the course of 29 days.
Which it could have. I read lots of accounts, so it definitely could have. But Holly, you fill us in a little more on this.
Yeah. What's the true story behind this dybbuk box?
All right. So first of all, a dybbuk is this is just from Wikipedia, a malicious possessing spirit believed to be the dislocated soul of a dead person. So Stephanie, in line with what you were saying, a dybbuk is an abbreviation which is found in man. Dybbuk comes from the Hebrew, the act of sticking. So it means to like adhere or cling. So it's like this spirit that clings to you, which, which is what we think of when we think of possession. So this story is from 2001. The term was first used by Kevin Mannis. It was used to describe a wine cabinet. It was sold on eBay. And I'm like, I feel like eBay isn't even a thing anymore. Very much.
No.
It's like, ooh, 2001 in eBay.
My work uses it all the time.
Yeah. Gosh, nobody that I talk to ever uses it anymore. But anyway, the story of this particular box is that it was bought at an estate sale in 2001. It had supposedly belonged to the survivor, a Polish survivor of the Holocaust named Havela, who had escaped to Spain, and Mannis, who had purchased it, wanted to give it back to the family since it was such a precious heirloom. And the granddaughter of the survivor said that the family didn't want it. When Mannis then opened it, supposedly inside it contained 2 1920s pennies, a lock of blonde hair bound with a cord, a lock of brownish black hair also bound with a cord, a small statue engraved with the Hebrew word shalom, a small golden white goblet, 1 dried rosebud, and a single candle holder with 4 octopus-shaped legs. So these are very personal, but seemingly, like they don't really have any context toward each other. However, it was said that numerous owners of the box reported a bunch of strange phenomena when they had come into contact with it, and the owners of it had bad things happen to them. Mannis had wrote that he experienced a series of nightmares. People who had stayed at his house had nightmares as well. His mother suffered a stroke. It was all these bad things, one after another, that seemed to all pop up around the time of handling this dybbuk box and after opening it as well. And then eventually, who is it? What is he in Ghost Adventure? Zach Baggins?
He's the host and creator and playboy. I don't know. He's the guy that runs the show. He's the guy that runs the show.
So eventually, yes, the guy that runs the show, Ghost Adventures, it was donated to him. So it's in display in his museum now.
In my hometown, Las Vegas.
I just imagine like a Hugh Hefner with a haunted house.
Yeah, the room that it's in is painted black, pitch black, it has some goat's heads around it, some upside down crosses. So it's in a fitting room. But Holly, I was going to say, you forgot to mention that the day that he opened the box was September 11th, 2001. Just think of that. He caused
I'm not going to discount that theory.
And if you think about it, he opened the dybbuk box on 9/11. Barbara Bush is the daughter of Aleister Crowley, who opened the Black Lodge. It is all coming together.
Season 3 of Horror Melee is cracking the code.
We're on to you, cult government.
There was some interesting discussion about bringing the dybbuk box that this was based off of onto the filming set. The director had been invited before it was in Zach Bagans' possession, the director was invited by the family to go see it, and he had declined. Jeffrey Dean Morgan had said that they had also wanted to bring the box on set, and he had heard so much about like what had happened to people, he had refused to allow anybody to bring it on set.
So, that's interesting, because I read that they actually did bring it on set, and they were going to try to use it, but they didn't really like the look of it, so they made their own and used that. The prop designer was too scared to open it, and then they hence just canceled using it because everyone was too scared to actually do anything with it. They were just frightened of the box. Mm-hmm. So they made their own, but they took aspects of it and added it to their whole prop design.
Oh, because also on Wikipedia, it says that 5 days after they wrapped the movie, all the props were burned. The storage house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the storage house in Vancouver burned down to the ground, and the fire department does not know the cause.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
A lot of weird things happened on set with this movie. I think that was like the key weirdness was that the prop studio in Vancouver burnt to the ground, which could have been a million things. It could have been electrical, it could have been arson, it could have been a dybbuk. No one knows. It could have been anything.
There is an actual website called dybbukbox.com.
Oh, it is terrible.
Yeah, it is.
Before Zach Bagans got his grubby little hands on it.
Playboy hands on it.
His Playboy hands on it. Yeah, a university professor got it, and he was like, I'm going to be buried with this and stuff, but I guess he ended up selling it. But he has the whole story and everything behind it.
No, originally the grandmother wanted to be buried with it, but it's not a custom in the synagogue wouldn't allow it. So he got it. Eventually it was sold to the professor, and he didn't believe in any of it, but he had some weird medical issues happen in his life and some weird things happen in his life that he eventually, I think he's the one who donated it to Zach.
Oh.
He was the last person to have it before Zach did. Kind of went down like this little rabbit hole with this, and I found this like audio recording of these guys talking about this, and they actually have some audio recordings of the professor talking about the box. The first recording is like, I don't believe in it. I'm going to buy it and I'm going to open it. And that's pretty much what, and the next thing is like, he's like, I went through some medical issues and I don't think it has to do with the box, but you know, some people believe it does. That was the last recording of him. So it was kind of comical.
Patrick, there is a movie that I came across that is basically like the story that you had just said about like, yeah, I don't really believe it. It's called Dybbuk Box, The Story of Chris Chambers. I kind of started to watch it, but I didn't have time to really go through it. But it's on Amazon Prime if anybody wants to take a look at it. But the premise is that in 2019, like all these unboxing videos, you know how people get subscriptions, they do unboxing videos. Well, it said that in 2019, there was a trend where people would buy dybbuk boxes off the dark web and do unboxings of them on YouTube.
I like how that's just a trend. What are you guys doing this weekend? I got my dybbuk box. I got unleash some demons in my house. I'm a non-believer in afterlife demons and stuff, but I want to believe. I want to be shown something. And so this idea of the dybbuk box is like very fascinating to me.
Yeah, for sure.
I totally can get behind a dybbuk box because, yeah, in Catholicism, they're like, leave the body and the spirit goes, but where does that demon spirit go? You know, at least in this Jewish tradition, they're like, oh, the demon goes into this box, and then we have the box, you know, as a prison for this demon.
Mm-hmm.
And then we, you take the box. It's like Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
You know, like at least you're like, okay, it's safe. It's not floating around somewhere in the universe. It's just not going to pop into another body over there.
I thought in Catholicism they just sent him back to hell.
I thought so too, but at least like, does it like, do you see the demon go to hell? Do you make sure it goes
and
to hell?
And also then there's the potential of coming back.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
but if the dybbuk is in a box, then it's sealed. It can't go anywhere.
Yeah, but if you have okay, think about this, Holly. You have 2 kids. How often do your kids get into your things that you don't want them to?
So are you saying I'm raising little dybbuks?
No, what I'm saying is like having a dybbuk box is just like keeping it in your house. Yeah, just having one and keeping it in your house. It's like, okay, well, if I got kids, I can't watch them 24/7. It's eventually gonna run over.
I had that thought because I was thinking of like, all right, this family, what if the family had taken the box back? It's like, all right, well, where do we put this? And then I did have the thought of, where in my place would I be able to put something like that? Just like throw it back in storage, like behind boxes of like old clothes and like toys and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, there's a dybbuk box back here too.
If I had a dybbuk box, Katina would wake up at 2 a.m. and I'd be sitting out in this living room. And I'd just be like, I opened it. Why did I open it? I don't know. I would be that person to open it.
Oh, no. Okay, so this movie opens up, like, you hear some whispering in Polish. And a woman's staring at the box. And you hear all the whispering. She goes to get a hammer. And then as she's going to try to destroy it, she all of a sudden like has a stroke. And then her body is just beaten and attacked by something that you can't see. So that's our introduction to what could happen with the dybbuk box.
She was like body slammed into a table. It looked like her neck cracked.
So I don't know if someone was wearing makeup or if that woman was really that age, but the way they were moving their body, I was like, if she was really that age, I was like, man, God, that's gotta hurt.
I was thinking that too.
I feel like they did a good job of either cutting it to make it look like an older woman or have a younger woman in an older suit, but it was a cool opening scene.
Yeah.
It was. I felt like it sets the bar pretty high. Like, we kind of know what we're going to get with this box, like what we're going to see happen. Then after the titles, we meet the main family, and I feel like right away you get the idea that they're divorced, but it doesn't seem hostile. Did you guys feel that too? Like it seemed like an amicable.
Yeah, I definitely felt that. It seems like it was more of a recent divorce, and they were being very friendly for the kids, but they still like had feelings for each other kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. When because it's like the kids never complain about having to go with their dad or be with their mom. They want to be with both parents. And the dad, Clyde, he brings his daughters to his brand new house and, like little street that's getting developed. There's only a few houses. And, you get the exposition of their divorce. It seems like something that, he didn't really want to have happen. So I think they did a good job with the exposition of this. Like, they set up everybody's relationship very well.
Yeah.
I think it helps care for, I wouldn't say the characters individually, but them as a family unit, knowing that there isn't any like hostility toward anybody.
Yeah, and I thought they did a good job about like making the dad seem he's really all about becoming a better basketball coach for college. Like, there was a little, I want to say too much of it, but I felt they did a good job of like portraying him like he's too involved with his work to be around with his kids and his wife, and that's why they left. They never mentioned it, but you could easily tell.
Well, there was at one point in the movie where the wife, whose name's Stephanie, which I'm like,
Hey.
I wasn't a big fan of her character. Kira Sedgwick,
Yeah, not really.
lovely, lovely actress, but her character
Great
was
in
just
Brooklyn
like,
Nine-Nine.
Oh, I know. But the character Stephanie, I was like, why do you have to be called Stephanie? Because she has a new boyfriend and she's like, oh, well, he's present. You know what that's like? Being present. And she seemed more of a nag. And this, you know, Jeffrey Dean Morgan plays the dad and he's like, I'm just a dude who's a basketball coach, you know? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out and be a good dad.
Yeah, but there was only one time in the movie where he could have been a good dad and he failed.
Oh, because he missed his daughter's recital. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these things with, I don't know, just the whole plot of this divorce, it seemed like every conflict that was going on within the family could have happened without them being divorced.
Yes. I just felt the mom's boyfriend was such a terrible character. We didn't need him at all. Not once
No.
did he
No.
ever move the story forward besides not even in the part where all the shit happens to him. Like, we didn't even need that. At that point, we understand M is going through some shit. She opened the box. He was such a pointless character, and like parents could have been together and the movie would have been the same.
I feel like it would have been more drama if the parents were together and having a fight and having that we're gonna get divorced instead of them actually
Right.
being divorced. Because I read somewhere that the director said that this was an allegory for divorce, and I'm like, really? Because
Whenever they were interacting with each other, they did have that, like a couple times where they were nagging or a little slightly annoyed with the other one. But the majority of the time watching them together, I was like, I don't know, there's this lightheartedness about them that doesn't seem like this is like kind of like they jumped the gun on a divorce.
yeah.
I spent more time wondering and worrying about that than paying attention to what I wanted to, which was a Jewish exorcism.
Yes, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
They're going back to their dad's house. They pass an estate sale. And fucking Hannah, this is all her fault.
This is the older sister.
Yeah. She was like, Dad, you need dishes. So
Let's get them from a dead person.
Yeah, which I was
I mean, you could wash them. They're fine. Wash them in holy water. It's fine.
I was just like, why? I'm like, gee, is there not like a Target or a Walmart or a Costco or I don't know, a BBB down the road? Like, why is
A
this?
fucking IKEA even? You're close enough to New York where you can drive into New York.
Okay, it's 2012. Amazon exists. Like, I'm surprised Hannah wasn't like, Dad,
Yes.
I'm gonna order you some dishes.
Do you ever think about, like, in the beginning we talked about, like, the original story about this dybbuk box. Do you ever think if they just stuck with the original story and added spookiness into it, it would be better?
yes.
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 I'm glad I'm not the only one.
So Emily finds the box. She feels drawn to it. Of course, very typical. And then I did like this scene. I thought it was pretty creepy. Like when she's walking and she walks past the window of the woman from the beginning of the movie. I think it's just the soundtrack playing. And then the woman like freaks out. She starts yelling and because she sees Emily with the box and she knows what's going to happen to her. So I think I liked it because of the music that was going on during that scene. I enjoyed the music.
I will agree with you on that. I did enjoy the music in this movie. I mean, I'm a little upset Modest Yahoo didn't make an appearance in music style besides a little part, but it was still good.
Before Emily sees the lady who's all bandaged up because she got Hulk Hogan wrestled to the death, when Emily finds the box, she makes eye contact with this lady in a car.
Oh, I forgot about her.
Their eyes are locked. They're gazing at each other. And this lady looks like, oh, man, She's going to be a source. She's going to have information. She's going to be somebody in this movie that we're going to meet again, and she's going to help with figuring out what's happening with the box.
And a music cue, if I remember correctly.
Like, it's a very prominent scene where Emily's looking at her. She's looking at her. They make that eye contact. And then she goes inside, and then Emily, like, sees the old lady, and then the woman who got out of the car, who we learn is the nurse, closes the windows, and then we never see her again.
Nope.
What was the point of that whole scene? I was waiting for her to pop back in, and she never came back in.
So I thought the same thing, and the only thing I could piece together in my head was the lady looked to be Hispanic, which most Hispanics are Catholic, and this movie has nothing to do with Catholicism. And they just totally forgot that they weren't making an Exorcist movie about Catholicism. That was it.
I mean, I thought this lady, looked to be from the Middle East. I was like, all right, cool. She's going to be like, oh, get that out of here. It's like, or at least give her a line. Give her a line to be like, ooh, box is evil, or like, get this box out of here, or bury that box. But nothing.
Yeah.
There were so many points where I thought the dad was going to go to that house, try to talk to the woman who was in the bed, and the nurse was going to explain what the box was. And it never fucking happened.
Yeah.
Never. But so I wonder if, like, the original... I've not read the original script versus the shooting script, which sometimes are completely different. I wonder if the original script had her have such a bigger part, and then they filmed it, and then they just kind of chopped it up and took it out. I wonder if that's
what I'm
like
thinking.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, I will say one thing. I did think the elderly woman in the beginning died, so it was weird seeing her come back at that one scene. I thought she
I thought she died.
Yes.
I mean, she slammed her head on a fucking table.
That's it. I don't know if a lot of what was filmed achieved a different purpose than what it was intended for, because her slamming her head on that table, usually in a movie like this, when that happens, and like how it was the slow motion, her falling back, it's like, okay, she's dead. We know that she died.
Yeah, and then it would have been an estate sale, not just a yard sale.
I think it goes into the territory of the director he's directed 19 movies and written 21, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. This is definitely like his 15th directorial debut. So it's not his first rodeo, but I don't think he's done anything at this scale. I think this was probably the largest movie he's done, working with someone like Sam Raimi and stuff like that. It's probably the largest thing he's ever done. So I imagine he tried to include a lot and then had to take out a lot in post.
Yeah.
Overshoot and then take out a lot to a point where it's like, okay, we've lost somewhat of the pacing and the flow of the movie because of this.
Yeah. I want to bring up another useless character, unfortunately. The teacher, Miss Shandy.
Oh my god. Yes.
So Emily is becoming increasingly attached to the box. It's opening at night. There was this there are moths all over their house because when she had opened the box,
I thought they were cicada.
That's what it looked like, but they kept saying they look too big to be. I don't know. Moths can't be very big, but yeah.
Cicadas are almost looked at like locusts. And, and biblical things. Yeah. So I kept thinking cicada, but he's like, oh, they're moths. They're moths. I'm like,
yeah. Before we get to Miss Shandy, Emily in the box, she's becoming like super into the box. Obviously, she's drawn to it because it's possessed. There's a demon in there. But Holly, what's in the box?
What's in the box? I don't know. They did a good job bringing in a lot of the items that were in the box from the supposedly original story into this movie. I thought that was pretty cool. So when Emily opens the box, she pulls out a dead moth or cicada. We'll go with moth.
Yeah, they keep saying moth, so we'll go with it because it has nothing to do with any biblical thing.
No, not at all. A ring that she then puts on her finger.
Which I want to talk about, but continue.
Yeah, the Super Bowl ring from 1973.
Yep. There was a little carving of, it looks like a dog. and then a tooth.
Yeah, which surprised me the most was out of everything she picked out of that box, the tooth was what she looked at the most. Because if I picked up anything, I'd pick up a tooth and be like, ugh, okay, let's go back to this little dog figure. Oh, it's nicely crafted.
I know.
So she finds a ring, she puts it on, and this ring is leaving, as we see throughout the movie, a bruise around her finger. It's just like, oh, you know, when you get like really bad jewelry and it leaves like a green mark.
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't know, actually.
nobody in the movie, okay, was like, hey, Em, what's up with your new ring? Also, why is your middle finger now like all bruised looking? Probably because of the ring.
Yeah, because it was like traveling down onto the back of her hand. It was like covering her knuckles.
Yeah.
And the thing that really bothered me is that Clyde was so attentive to what his daughters were doing. And, you know, he kept talking to Hannah about her teeth, and he noticed that she had a retainer in. I'm like, you notice that retainer, but you don't notice your daughter's hand like changing color.
Exactly.
And getting like infected.
Yeah. At one point, the makeup on the hand, it was baby blue. It just looked like she had watercolor on her hand. And I was like, oh, okay. It's that scene in the classroom where she's with Miss whatever. It's like right before he takes her bag. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the only person, like, obviously her dad sees her. She's acting weird and distant. And Emily has a scene in the beginning, like right when she gets the box and she puts her, you know, the ring on. She's in the garage with her sister, Hannah. And Hannah's just like doing her recital dance, Superstars, we got this.
Which my sisters did all the time. So
yeah,
I totally believe that scene.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what girls do. Come on. I mean, I didn't do that. I was like, I don't even know how to do a dance.
Neither did I. All girls except us.
So they're in the garage because Em is like, I don't feel like me. And then Hannah just kind of chalks it up to the divorce. And she says my favorite line, which is, I think you'll feel better if you stop giving a shit. Which I was like, yes.
Yes, you know what? I would. Thank you.
But one thing that bothered me was I felt Hannah would had a bigger part in the movie with her sister, like the sisterly love kind of thing.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the movie, she's like very prevalent, and then she kind of dies out, and then she comes back, and then she dies out again. I just felt like they just used her character as this, like, whenever they needed to move something along or add something in. I don't know. I felt like they could have done a lot more with the whole sister thing, especially after that scene. Like, you could tell that they were, you know, they were definitely both on different paths, but they still loved each other.
Oh, yeah. No,
Right.
I love their sisterly relationship. They were like super supportive of each other. And I love that Hannah, Hannah was in her, I'm going to do my dance routine world. And she wasn't just blowing off her sister. She was like, yo, what's up? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And even though she wasn't like, ew, you should take that ring off. It's like, it's messing up your finger. Nobody said anything about the disgusting ring.
Or her constantly carrying around a fucking duffel bag.
Emily in school with her duffel bag full of a dybbuk. This little brat, like, steals her bag. Like, he drags it over to his desk with his foot and just, like, takes it out. He's like, what is this? And Emily freaks out. Man, I swear, the face that she had on her face, I have felt that kind of anger before. And I was like, oh, shit.
I have to say, when I was watching this and this scene happened, both Katina and I, as soon as she started slapping him, we were like, oh, fuck. Like, she was, like, really fucking going at it.
Yeah, she was, like, winding up, and then she, like, goes to punch him, and the teacher stops her and, you know, do the whole call the parents in and talking to the teacher, and I'm gathering the principal.
Yeah.
They decided to get her some psychiatric help. You know, have her do an evaluation over a couple days. But Miss Shandy, her teacher, she was pretty useless.
Yeah, they were also like, they're like, we're gonna hang on to this box. They weren't like, here, give it to the parent.
Which no school would do.
Right.
No, they're like, no, we're going to keep your property, which I was like, no, that's not a thing,
No.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I thought of too. I was like, they would have given this back to one of her parents.
That whole scene, like, Miss Shandy, why would Miss Shandy keep it in her classroom? Why wouldn't the principal keep it? Like, if they're going to, like, do this whole thing, why would Miss Shandy keep it?
Yeah.
She was in it to be killed, to
Yeah.
have another kill.
Yeah.
That in itself was underwhelming.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
It was very boring. Like, I've seen it a million times before.
So just to describe the scene real quick. So it's nighttime. We see Miss Shandy. It's after hours. Lights are out. She's working at her desk with just a desk light, not the actual classroom light, which I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Because schools are scary as fuck. Let's be honest.
There was so many times in this movie where I was like, why don't you just put the lights on? That doesn't make sense.
You're gonna hurt your eyes.
So Miss Shandy's like drawn to the box and she's like, oh, maybe I'll check out this box, see what the big deal is. And all of a sudden wind picks up and we see like her little flag on her desk is flapping in the wind. And then all of a sudden she's getting beaten by an invisible force, but you don't see anything other than her being like thrown into a chalkboard and then out a window.
Yeah.
When I watched this scene, the only thing I thought was, I would have taken my shoes off too if I was working late.
Oh my god, that was the
Right?
scariest thing, was seeing Miss Shandy in white tights and seeing her feet with white tights
Yeah.
on.
I agree.
Yeah. That was the only thing I thought about, was that.
This brought up another issue for me, though, because dybbuk, the way it is described, is supposed to be attached to her, like stuck to her. So
It wasn't attached to her at this point, though.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Never mind. They had that one scene.
It
by the
was
gas
whispering to her and showing her hallucinations at this point and telling her she's so special and she's so cool, getting her trust.
I did a little checklist as I was watching of exorcism tropes that we see throughout the movie, like the progression of it. So first we see Emily and she's like, oh, I don't feel like me. So she's feeling off.
Mhm.
Then we get odd behavior. So they're eating, it's Hannah, Emily, and Clyde. They're eating breakfast. Hannah is talking to Clyde. You know, he's like not really paying attention. He's just watching Emily eat because she's just like stuffing pancakes in her mouth. She's not even chewing. It's like stab, shove it in your mouth. Stab, shove it in your mouth. Stab, shove it in your mouth.
How many times have you guys eaten pancakes like that? Because I have. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, so then he yells at her to stop, like just slow down and stop, and she just like snarls and stabs him in the hand with a fork, and then immediately she's like, I'm so sorry, like she had no idea what was going on. Violence with that, and then her reaction in school. And infestation, we get two scenes with moths. Hannah opens the bathroom cabinet and there's a ton of moths everywhere, and then she's screaming. They go to get Emily and she's on her bed looking at the box and her bedroom is just full of moths. It's everywhere.
See, when I saw that scene, all I could think about was Amityville Horror with the flies.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I really thought about. Or like locusts, which also have to do with cicada, which what those bugs were. They weren't moths.
Then we have therapeutic medical intervention where, you know, people are recommending her go get checked out by doctors. And then voice distortion is another one.
Oh.
After Miss Shandy dies, Clyde and Emily are having breakfast in a restaurant. Again, she's like eating quite a fair, it seems like more vigorously than a child of her age normally would. And she asks for more food, and then her voice kind of distorts, and you hear her say she's still hungry.
If I was that dad, I'd be like, who's fucking hungry still? I just watched you eat a fucking grand sandwich, some pancakes, and a milkshake. Who's still hungry here? Like, answer me. He never does. He just, like, watches it. Like, I mean, I would be concerned, but
Yeah, these are all odd behaviors for her, and he
Yeah.
knows it.
he knows it, but he never questions it.
Right.
Holly, Victor's doing this. How quick would you be to question this?
Instantly.
Exactly.
Okay, but so here's the thing, and here's one of my biggest gripes about this movie. Let's say this family, they're atheist, agnostic, whatever. They're not religious. Totally fine. This is a Jewish demon. If there's any religion that's like exclusive membership only, like where's your Costco card? It's Judaism. There is no way that a Jewish demon is going to pick a Gentile or a non-Jew to possess.
That's the thing. But that's the thing. It's not a Jewish demon. It's just a demon that happened to be put away by a Jewish individual. A demon's a demon.
I don't know, Patrick.
This is where it gets tricky, because if it's a Jewish demon, then Judaism's right. If it's a Catholic demon, then Catholicism's right. If it's a Christian demon, then Christianity's right. Is it hell and heaven, or is it Christian hell, Jewish hell, Catholicism hell? Like, what hell is it? It's either hell or heaven.
What
That's
the
how
hell
I view
is it?
I like this path. This feels like a whole philosophical like mini-sode that we could do.
Because in my eyes, they all believe their basis is the same thing, and then they trail off. Which heaven and hell are the same thing, and then they trail off.
Okay, but so the thing is, Patrick, when M gets possessed, the dad is reading like an English Hebrew book. So he's reading from Jewish passages, and they get a rabbi.
Is that because the box already has the Jewish prayer? Oh, hear Lord, which all dybbuk boxes have on it, because it has the Judaism symbols or alphabet on it. I don't know. I'm assuming it's an alphabet. Once again, sorry to our Jewish listeners. Because I mean, the box it's lined with Judaism.
Yeah, it has Hebrew written all over it.
Hebrew. That's the word I was looking for. So I mean, if I saw Hebrew, I would go to Hebrew.
Okay, well, this is why. Okay, so here's the thing about Catholic possession. All right, I will bring up the Exorcism of Emily Rose. That movie scared the shit out of me when I watched it. I started being like, oh my God, if I wake up at 3 and I smell smoke, oh my God, I'm going to be possessed. You know, I believe mind over matter. So if I believe in it, it could happen. Mm-hmm. Catholics believe in heaven and hell. They believe in demons. Okay. I don't know. Like, I feel like if I believe in that less and less, then it's not going to happen to me. Like you see hysterical exorcisms of like a whole group of people being like, we're possessed, you know, or you see like the church, you know, those really intense church gatherings of people being possessed by the spirit in like a positive way, and it's like, we're being
like
possessed.
snake handling,
like snake handling and stuff.
like
So
like that.
So that's because they believe in it.
And that's godly possession, and that's not demonic possession.
This is where the movie really lost me in it, because this family, we don't know what they believe in, because they're just like, oh my goodness, this is like a demon. Is this real or not? And we don't even know what the little girl believed in either. Like, were they Jewish? Were they not Jewish? I don't know.
I know. That's another thing that did lose me.
When it comes to like Catholic demon possession, it's always like, I'm a strict Catholic. I got possessed by a demon. I believe it. They're always wearing a cross. There's always a priest.
My interpretation was, I am a fan of the comic book series Constantine. And there is a line in Constantine. It's not directly from this. It's just from what I remember. Christian, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, whatever. A demon doesn't care what you are. That's it. What you believe in, it just wants what you have, your soul. And that's it.
Like this demon could have, well,
it doesn't matter.
Okay,
it doesn't matter what you believe.
Yeah.
But does every religion believe in a soul?
No, but that's the whole thing. It's like, I don't believe that we have souls. I don't believe in demons, and I don't believe in Christ or heaven and hell or whatever this is. But if it was real, a demon wouldn't care that I didn't believe in that. And since we're talking about a movie with a demon, they don't care if you're Jewish, Catholic, or whatnot. It's just, like, in the movie, they even say, it wants life.
Yeah, it's arose by any other name. It could be whatever.
Exactly. And, like, what's the one thing that really, in religion, gives us life is our soul. It's our being. It's our essence, our spirituality, or whatever. Right?
Yeah, I like that. I like that thinking, but going into it, I was really hoping for more of the culture of Judaism in this, and having this family not have any hints of anything. I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, it
agree with you.
Seems like the same thing.
This was a possession movie with a splash of Judaism.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what I was looking for, because, again, going back to like every other exorcism movie out there, there's such a huge religious tone throughout the whole movie.
Right.
I felt that because this box was called a dybbuk box and it had the Hebrew on it, I was waiting for more, like you said, not just a splash of Judaism.
Not just the last 20 minutes where they bring in a traditional Jewish guy and they go to a synagogue. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that. Catholicism, they're always going to the Vatican and they have all these massive classes about exorcisms and priesthoods, and they're always like educating these priests, where there is that in Judaism and they didn't show any of it. It just was like this non-religious family, and then he picks up a English to Hebrew book.
Page by page, which I literally had to pause and
Hebrew
be like,
for
wait.
dummies. Maybe the movie was made like that because, Judaism is, that Costco Select kind of card. They don't really know much. People want to participate and say, well, this is how it would be done, besides Modest Yahoo.
Oh my gosh. Which, like, I just have to say, I know we are really going we are not going chronologically at all, but
we're going deep, okay? We're going deep right now.
Yes.
But what really lost it for me, and when I mean lost, like, I really disconnected from the movie, and it's so easy for me to get engaged and drawn in. Eventually, the dad talks to his university professor about this box, finds out, which is an amazing scene. I absolutely love Professor McManus. But talking about Modest Yahoo, he finds out that it's like a Jewish demon ultimately, and he somehow connects with this Modest Yahoo, whose name is Sadok, but whatever, Modest Yahoo, in Borough Park, Brooklyn, goes to Brooklyn, and of course he's like, hey, I'm looking for Sadok, and we see a scene of Modest Yahoo rapping Bob Marley, and I'm just like, come on, like, really? Like, I'm surprised he wasn't wearing like a Modest Yahoo t-shirt. Like, what? Stop. This totally disengaged me from the entire movie. I was like, oh, right. It's Modest Yahoo playing a cool, like, rabbi son.
Yeah.
He did a good job, but I didn't believe him at all.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I see it.
Well, yeah, he played the typical, the higher ups aren't going to help you. I'll come help you.
And that's, number 8 on Holly's exorcism trope checklist: religious help from someone, quote unquote, unconventional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I fucking hate. I hate so much in every movie, because it's like, well, they don't meet the criteria. They don't meet the criteria. Okay.
Yeah.
You've done so many fucking exorcisms, and exorcisms are still practiced today. The Catholic Church still practices them. What do you consider criteria? Because it seems like it's constantly changing. It just baffles me. And I hate seeing it in movies because it's so stereotypical at this point.
Yeah, it's an easy way to give more conflict, and it kind of feels lazy.
Yeah, I would rather them go up and be like, we have an exorcism, and the priest is like putting on his jacket. He's like, where are we going? Like, I just want this to be like almost like an action exorcism movie. Where he comes in with fucking cross guns and he's shooting holy water at the person. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's in the will of God. Why is it in the will of God? It could be in the will of myself, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys. It's so stereotypical and just fucking dumb. I guess it wouldn't be that dumb if we haven't seen it so many times, but it's been, I mean, since The Exorcism, we've seen it in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
It just miss after miss. Like there were some creepy scenes that I was not creeped out by. Like, okay, Brett, the boyfriend.
What's his name? Brett?
Brett, yeah.
Oh man, I thought it was Fred.
Patrick, you're not watching without the subtitles? Jeez.
That's how important of a character he was.
After M gets officially possessed, even though she's screaming no and slams like a pound of moths down her throat, she's officially possessed. And now she's like, looks like the little girl from Night of the Living Dead with like nothing but ghoul makeup on.
Okay. One thing I noticed when she got possessed, she strictly stopped wearing pants.
I don't need pants.
Like, she just stopped wearing pants altogether.
No, she looked like she'd been rolling around in the mud for a week.
Yeah, she literally had
with no pants,
rain boots on, and an XXL t-shirt.
Yeah, why was she wearing rain boots?
They didn't notice a ring on her finger. They weren't like, what in the world are you wearing? You know, Brett was like, oh, hey, Emily.
Whoa. But the daughter tells her everything. She knows everything. She always talks about her feelings. That's what she told the principal.
That mom, her character was a fair weather friend, okay?
Yes.
Her character was more into Brett/Fred than her children.
So going back to Brett encounters Emily after she's possessed. Emily's like, I look like the Night of the Living Dead. I'm in this XXL t-shirt. Brett's like, hey, what's up? And Emily's like, shows him a tooth. Okay. And he's like, oh, cool. Where'd you get this? And then she's like,
is he a dentist?
He's an orthodontist.
Okay.
I think he's an orthodontist because he gave Hannah.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Don't even get me started on that because I was like, wait, she has a retainer in and then she doesn't. And then she has it in again. And the dad's like, where the heck did this come from? And I'm like, she had it in 2 scenes ago, sir. You did not notice that? Anyway, Emily gives Brett a tooth out of nowhere. He's like, oh,
fucking
cool.
weird.
Let me look at this. He's not like, hey, you look like shit. Why the heck are you handing me this tooth? Let's go talk to your mom. He's just like, oh, cool.
A tooth. I am distracted.
Yeah.
It's his fetish.
Seriously. And then she's like, ugh, and then he loses all his teeth. And he loses all of his teeth. He's like, blood's coming out. And he's like, where did my teeth go? He doesn't run in the house to be like, I need help. He gets in his car and drives away.
Wait. Let's talk about the best part of that scene. He is literally so obsessed with his Prius that he's just like wiping and spit shining the window. And then Storm, like, she acts like she's Storm, like she's controlling the weather, comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yes. And then Emily like passes out and the mom's like, okay, let's take her for an MRI. Another scene before this, Emily is in the kitchen of her mom's house in the dark, crying and eating like raw meat because this entity inside of her, this dybbuk, wants her to eat and it's making her eat all these terrible things. And Emily's a vegetarian, so she's like, I'm eating raw meat, I can't do this.
I actually like this scene.
I did too.
Okay. Her mom comes down and she's like, hey, honey, are you okay? Doesn't turn on the light. Her daughter is literally making a mess in the kitchen. If my mom saw me, first of all, with the fridge open for more than 3 seconds, God help me. But if she saw me making a mess like that, she would have scared the demon out of me with the wrath she was about to pull. And she would have turned on the lights. She wouldn't be walking around on glass barefoot. She literally would have picked me up and been like, "What are you doing?" I'm telling you, that demon would have been out of my body like, "Fuck no, you are about to have it way worse than anything I can do to you."
Why don't they ever turn on the lights?
Yes!
That's true. Yeah.
My mom would have acted like this woman, but my mom would have turned on the lights. My mom
Yes.
would have came in and be like,
Yeah, same.
"Sweetie, are you okay? Are you going through some stuff right now? Do you need to talk about it? Like, I'm here for you."
Oh, you're not a
like,
vegetarian anymore? Okay.
you know, I could cook that pork chop for you if you want. I got some applesauce too. We can make a nice little meal. But my mom would have turned on the light.
Yes!
I did like this scene though, because I did like the girl that plays Emily. She did do a really good job of acting this out.
She did a great
And
job.
She did, yes.
That struggle between her playing the demon and her playing Emily, I felt really shined in this scene.
Yeah.
Emma. Give me that, sweetie. Emily, what are you doing? Em's not here. It's okay. Come here. You just stop this right now. Come here. Come to mommy.
No!
I'm not playing games now, Emily.
I said Em's not here!
Emily.
But this scene was great. I really thought this whole fridge scene with the mom and stuff was great. Probably my favorite in the movie, to be honest.
I totally agree with you. I thought that she was so phenomenal during this entire movie. And yeah, seeing her play that struggle, like you said, Patrick, I think it was a compelling scene to watch.
Yeah. So moving on, M is possessed. They take her to get an MRI. Now, I've never got an MRI before, but
I've got multiple.
can the family be in the room with the doctors as you get an
No.
MRI? Okay. I was like, I'm pretty sure you can't do that.
Yeah, that's another thing that always happens in movies. It's like they're right there watching it.
Yeah.
I've gotten multiple MRIs in my life, and not once has my mom ever been in the room with me. And I never had to wear that fucking mask.
So, okay. So during this MRI, they're taking these pictures and we gradually see like a demon is actually in her lung.
This was a cool scene until they didn't do much with it.
Right.
Patrick, that was like my issue with a lot of scenes.
They didn't do much.
It wasn't suspenseful because I feel like you kind of guessed, you knew what was going to happen. You know, it wasn't scary.
The idea of like seeing the demon in her, like eating and feeding on her organs and living within her is so cool. And then they stopped. And that was kind of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they allude to it prior to when she's in the bathroom and she's looking at her throat with the flashlight and you see fingers come up from her throat.
Which was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. And then later, before Brett loses all of his teeth, there's like this weird sort of transformation type. I don't know. It was weird, but it still, points to that there's something inside of her.
Yeah.
And, something that's trying to take over. And then you see the physicality of it and nothing's ever done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like after all these scenes, it's just like, okay, just cutting to black. And then the next scene is a very calm, like, okay, something's happening. Let's see how we can fix this. Like very calm. Like this movie had like no suspense to it. There's no tension.
The reason there's no tension and stuff, I think it just goes back to pacing. Pacing is such an important part in films, and when you're constantly speeding up, slowing down, you just people get kind of irritated. It's like sitting in traffic. If the flow is not constant, then the ride seems longer. It's more irritating if you're constantly going and stopping and going and stopping. But if it's a constant flow, you're okay with it. You understand it. It's fine. And I think that was one of the big parts of the film.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. It's the quintessential final showdown. M got her MRI. The mom shouldn't have been in there, but she was there. The lights turned out.
And
the hospital
Hannah.
was like, this is normal / no, it's not. The mom pulls Emily out of the MRI, which I'm like, pretty sure you can't do that. That's not real.
No.
No, because an MRI is a giant magnet. So any metals you have on there would just be ripped into the fucking room.
So they're in the university hospital. JMD comes back with Modest Yahoo. Kira Cedric is like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. Can you help my daughter? Modest Yahoo, of course, is like, of course I can. I'm not a doctor. Ha ha ha.
I'm a reggae rapper.
It's like, all right, what a time to be cracking jokes.
And here's like another thing. He's like, oh, we can't take her out of here. And Modest Yahoo's like, okay, well, we need to go someplace private. You can't take her out of the hospital. But then they go sneak into another room of the hospital. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you guys could have snuck out of there. So don't tell me this, like, you can't take her out of here. Like, you just.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you check yourself in and you can check yourself out. There's nothing in the law that says you have to stay. Unless I guess a doctor could sign something that says you have to stay, but she's a 12-year-old girl going home with her mother, so
Yeah, there was a lot of dialogue in this that was very unnecessary.
this was the part of the movie where I know it was the climax of the film. There was a lot of it where it was just like it should have moved a lot faster and it should have been more chaotic, and like the whole scene of like sneaking through the hospital took me out, and then they got to the physical therapy room and I was like, oh, I'm interested, and then they left the physical therapy room and I was like, okay.
So Modest Yahoo starts the whole exorcism. He's like kind of headbanging, doing, a Jewish chant, and then like kiss, kiss, kiss. And
one thing that I did like, which when I saw the movie, him doing that, I was like, oh, what the fuck is he doing? Why is he acting like that? But I watched a handful of Jewish exorcisms. They do it in big groups, and they do these like kind of dance parties around the person they're exorcising, and it's pretty fucking cool. And he was doing kind of the same thing that they would do in these exorcisms, and I was like, whoa, okay, so this is like, I guess, where Catholic priests are just doing the cross over and over again, Judaisms are fucking just like fist pump in the air and yelling at the person. And
dance is movement, so it makes sense. It's the energy and the vibe, and it's adding more.
Exactly. Yeah.
Adding more energy to what you're doing.
Which is very different from Christianity and Catholicism, where it's like you just have to be the conduit to the Lord instead of we need the energy to bring it to the Lord, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Think of the difference also between, because I was raised Catholic, between like Catholic and Baptists. In Baptists, you get much more singing and dance and more celebration. And, it's that high energy that, it can make that connection.
So they're doing this exorcism, and Emily's, the dybbuk comes, takes over, and she breaks free of this. So they have to go find her, and the dad finds her in the autopsy room, and it's all red, and it's supposed to be a really creepy scene, but I was like,
It would have been better if they just stayed in that fucking room.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get what they try to do. Again, like, he used his phone as a flashlight. He didn't find the light for the room. He's like, where's my daughter in this creepy room? Let me just use my flashlight phone,
Right.
And I'm going to ruin something here But eventually the dad gets possessed by the demon.
Right. So they make it back to like the main physical therapy room. They're, the dad's like, take me, which is the final trope of all exorcisms.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, come on.
Yep.
I will say, if I was a parent, I would be like, fucking take me, save my child. I would do that. But it's so fucking cliche.
Yeah.
After sitting through all of the other cliches that happen, it's like, okay, well, yeah, here's another one.
Yeah.
It didn't have that, and it didn't have an impact.
Yeah.
You know the dad's a good dad and he's trying to be a good dad, but at the same time, it's like, you don't earn this. I don't feel you earn this. Like, I don't care that you sacrificed yourself for your daughter. Like, no, there's no emotion from me to this. I don't connect to it at all.
Even then, that was like super anticlimactic because they're all like, oh my God, are you okay? And like Emily's like, oh my God, you saved me. And then Matisyahu's like, this isn't right. So he starts chanting again. And sure enough, the dad like slumps over, and then the light going on and off, the like strobe effect.
God, yeah.
With the fake glitch.
Oh, yeah. Where you see the demon coming out of the dad's mouth and being called back into the box. At this point, I was like, oh my goodness, just end.
Yeah, I was so looking forward to this moment in the movie, and I was so let down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even at the end where the demon's coming out, like, I like the idea of the demon being like this small, insignificant thing and like crawling back to its box. But even then, it was just done so poorly. I was like, all right, get to the box. Get to the dybbuk box.
Go to bed. Just fucking go to bed already.
Let's get to the next scene. Yeah, let's get to the next scene.
The dybbuk goes back into the box, and the family's back home making like pancakes.
And they get back together. The mom and dad just fucking get back
Big
together once again.
Yeah.
Why did you have that storyline? I feel like the only reason was to, one, have a gory scene with Brett, a character who means nothing, and two, I don't know, I feel like they tried to make Clyde into some character that did need redemption by his daughters and his ex-wife, but he really didn't.
No, he
because
didn't.
He wasn't a bad guy.
He wasn't an alcoholic. He just like worked too hard.
Yeah, he was making some poor choices, a little misguided, but he in no way needed any kind of redemption. Yeah, his sacrifice at the end and then coming together at the end, it was like, oh, well, it doesn't have weight to it.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think about the ending scene in the car?
Clyde and Matisyahu are on the phone. Matisyahu is like in Clyde's car, and Clyde is like, just take my car, it's fine, drive it back to Brooklyn. I
Right?
don't need it.
Yeah, it's
take my car.
yours.
It's totally
no
fine.
biggie.
Yeah, I got the titles in the glove compartment. It's cool. Matisyahu is like, cool, I'm going to drive this back and I'm going to like take it back to my dad. And then it's all like, do, happy. So something's about to happen, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Katina was like, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then, bam.
And then as he's driving, all of a sudden he's T-boned by like a semi-truck. And then we see the car's like destroyed and the dybbuk box is on the side of the road, totally fine, waiting for someone to pick it up. And scene.
You know what that reminds me of? My mom used to always tell me the story. She used to always tell me the story about how these kids got in the car and there was no room in the car, so they told Jesus that he had to sit in the back with the eggs, and they got in a car crash. The only thing that was safe was the eggs, and all the kids died. And I was like, this is fucking the same bullshit, same dumb shit that I heard as a kid. Holly, you're looking at me like you've never heard that story before.
No.
Oh. Yeah, that story was told to me many times.
So at the end, when they show the dybbuk box in the road, you hear more whispering or singing in Polish. I forgot where I read it, but I'm pretty sure she says something along the lines of like, field is plentiful with mushrooms or something. Something
Oh.
about mushrooms in a field.
But it's in Polish?
Yeah.
Do you speak Polish?
I don't.
Oh. Oh.
So, why don't we give some final thoughts and rate this?
What are we going to rate this on? Human hair?
Teeth.
How many molars are you going to give this?
I choose bicuspids.
Okay, so me first?
Yeah, Patrick, you go first.
I'm going to give this movie 2.5 molars. There were some aspects of this movie I did like. I like the idea that it's not following a traditional Christian Catholicism or anything like that. It kind of goes off to this weird, different, not the norm, right? And I like that. I like the aspect that it went to Judaism as for the dybbuk box. But there was just so much poorly executed scenes in this movie. And even the scenes that I did like don't make up for the poor writing and the other stuff. So I'm going to give this 2.5 molars.
All right. Stephanie?
I'm going to give this 2 teeth, 1 molar, 1.5 hearty molars for Jeffrey Dean Morgan, my man, and a nice chipped tooth for Natasha Callis because she was super great in this. When I saw this in the theater, it was lackluster to me. I was really excited to watch a non-Catholic possession story. I thought it was really cool, but it fell flat multiple times. This movie reminded me of Drag to Hell, which is a Sam Raimi movie, but Drag to Hell worked. All that stuff for it worked. For a movie like Possession, I was expecting a lot more creepiness, a lot more tension, a lot more suspense, and there was none of that in here. I watched this with my friend Janessa, and she wasn't into the quote-unquote yucky parts, which is classic Sam Raimi. For a story like this, it just did not work at all.
Yeah, I am going to give it 2.5 teeth. The half for me is also for Natasha Callis. I think she did a wonderful job. I was going to give this a 2, but watching her in this again, I was like, yeah, she was really fun to watch. Yeah, when I had first come across this, and up until I began rewatching it again for this record, I kept telling myself, oh my God, I loved this movie. It was so good. I enjoyed watching it. I'm looking forward to watching it again. I watched it a second and third time, and I saw all the issues that we had talked about. And I think when I first saw it, I was just so excited to see a movie that didn't have the same Catholic demons, explanations, characters that I've seen a million times over. So I was excited for that. And I think my excitement outweighed the fact that I didn't get what I wanted in this movie, which was to really be more immersed in the culture of Judaism and see something different with this, because it's such an old religion. I feel like there could be so much stuff that you can draw from to really make this more like primal and weird things in the dark kind of creepy, like the things that you can't really name or describe kind of creepy. And unfortunately, it just gave a lot of the same things, just with a new coat of paint on it.
I would have loved to seen in this movie that the box slowly opens, the demon slowly crawls out, causes havoc, and then slowly crawls back in. Like, that would have been so fucking great. And then attach itself to Emily, but it never did that.
Yeah, this story had so much potential.
Yeah, and reading the original accounts of what happened, and the woman who wrote the article that they took inspiration from this movie, it's really creepy. And it's like I get chills reading all this stuff and like reading all the research and everything, and I never got that in this movie. And it's like that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I had more fun doing research about this shit than watching the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is another podcast called the No Sleep Podcast, and they do a story about a dybbuk box, but it's done very differently, where it's not a demon attaches itself to you. It's a lady finds it, and when she opens it, she finds this candle and these matches, and she's like, it allows her to quickly move between spaces. And eventually, when she moves between spaces, she's going through these dark tunnels, and eventually she just gets lost in these tunnels, and that's where she finds
Ooh.
the demons. It is fantastic.
That sounds
One of
so
the
interesting.
best. Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, I listen to No Sleep podcast when I can't fall asleep. Thanks everybody for listening to us discuss The Possession. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for listening and hopefully subscribing. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram, and please check us out on horrormelee.com. Feel free to drop us an email and give us reviews. Tell us what you're liking, what you're not liking, any movie recommendations you have, what you're doing to keep busy during quarantine.
The destruction ravages at you. Put your hands on her. You need only to look with your eyes in the face of the wicked illuminator. The trials